Caitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya
Advaita
Advaita
Chandra
Chandra
Jaya
Jaya Gaura
Bhakta
Bhakta
Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya
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 Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya
Jaya
Advaita
Advaita
Chandra
Chandra Jaya
Jaya
Gaura
Gaura
Bhakta
Bhakta
Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya
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 Shri
Shri
Caitanya
Chaitanya
Jaya
Jaya
Nityananda
Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya
Jaya
Advaita
Advaita Chandra
Chandra
Jaya
Jaya
Gaura
Gaura
Bhakta
Bhakta
Vrinda.
Would somebody like to read?
I can read. Give me a minute, please.
Sure. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pal, you back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then quoted a verse from the Padma Purana. There are many different Puranas with instructions for worshipping different types of demigods. But such instructions only bewilder people into thinking that the demigods are supreme. Yet, if one carefully studies the Puranas, he will find that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the only object of worship. For example, in the Markandeya Purana, there is mention of Devi worship or worship of the goddess of Durga or Kali. But in this same Purana, it is also stated that all demigods, even Durga, are different energies of Vishnu. Thus, the study of the Purana reveals Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be the only object of worship.
So then Lord Chaitanya here is saying that, okay, there are many Puranas. Now he's quoting from Padma Purana. And Padma Purana is saying that there are many, many different Puranas, right? There are 18 Puranas. Right? The 18, 6 dealing with mode of goodness, 6 with mode of passion, 6 with mode of ignorance. Now, in these different types of Puranas, different demigod worship is recommended. And then they may appear to say that the demigod is actually supreme. But if we carefully study the Puranas, we will understand that only Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So the example Lord Chaitanya is giving is that Markandeya Purana, it says that you should worship Durga Devi. But in the same Purana, it is also stated that all the demigods, all the demigoddesses, even Durga, they are different energies of Supreme Lord Vishnu. So, superficially, if one studies the Puranas, they may think, oh, they're just telling me to worship different demigods. But if one actually studies properly, one will be able to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Careful study.
The conclusion is that directly or indirectly, all types of worship are more or less directed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita 9.23 confirms that one who worships the demigod is in fact worshipping only Krishna, because the demigods are but different parts of the body of Vishnu or Krishna, but that such worship is irregular. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.21.42 to 43 confirms this irregularity by answering the question, What is the purpose of the different types of worship described in the Vedic literature? In the Vedic literature, there are various divisions. One is called the Karma Kanda, which describes purely ritualistic activities, and another is the Jnana Kanda, which describes speculation on the supreme absolute truth. What then is the purpose of the ritualistic sections of the Vedic literature, and what is the purpose of the Upasana Kanda, which contains different mantra or hymns for worshipping various demigods? And what is the purpose of philosophical speculation on the subject of the absolute truth? Srimad Bhagavatam replies that in actuality, all of these methods described in the Vedic literature indicate the worship of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. In other words, they are all indirect ways of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sacrifices contained in the ritualistic portions of this literature are meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. Indeed, because yagna sacrifice is specifically meant for satisfying Vishnu, another name for Vishnu is Yajneshwara, or the Lord of Sacrifices.
So Lord Chaitanya is continuing that whether we worship directly Supreme Lord Krishna or indirectly, all kind of worship is meant for worship of Krishna. So what does Bhagavad Gita 9.23 say?
That if you're worshipping any demigod, in fact, you're worshipping only Krishna, because because demigods are part and parcels, are different parts of the body of Vishnu or Krishna.
Yeah. And actually, demigod worship is irregular. It's better to worship Krishna directly. Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, and he says that they have low intelligence. Those who worship the demigods worship me directly, he says. So then Bhagavad Gita is saying it's irregular to worship the demigod. Then Bhagavatam is saying, what is this irregularity? It's answering the question. What is this different purposes? The Karma Kand, the Vedic literature, the big portion of Vedas it comprises of this Karma Kand section to perform different sacrifices for the pleasure of demigods so that one can go to the heavenly planets and enjoy more over there. That's Karma Kand. And then the idea is that when one is performing sacrifices, they're going to invite the Brahmanas, and the Brahmanas will tell the person, hey, don't indulge yourself in this temporary sense enjoyment. This is not the ultimate goal of life. And like that, they can get knowledge, higher knowledge. They can come to the point of Gyan to understand this world is not the reality, that the soul is spirit actually. So that's Gyan Kand. But the Gyan Kand of the Vedas also, they're very misleading because it goes on to speculate to the identity of the Supreme Lord. Speculation of the truth. Not directly. Krishna's to Bhagwan Swayam. Bhagavatam directly says that. Canto 1, chapter 3, text 28. Etecha amsa kalapamsa Krishna's to Bhagwan Swayam. Many incarnations, many expansions, many kala, many amsha, but Krishna is the original form of God. So there's no speculation required. So here, even Upasana Kand, which consists of worship of different. What is the purpose of all this? That actually all of them are for the purpose of satisfying Lord Vishnu. All sacrifices meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. What is he called? What is he specially called?
Yagneshwara, or the Lord of Sacrifices.
Yes. Sacrifice means doing any activity for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu. That's the meaning of sacrifice. Any activity for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And so in this age of Kali, we perform the Sankirtan Yajna. sacrifice of chanting the holy name for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord.
Since neophytes are not on the transcendental level, the Vedic literature advises them to worship different types of demigods, according to the situation and different modes of material nature. The idea is that gradually such neophytes may rise to the transcendental plane and engage in the service of Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, the Puranas advise the neophytes attached to eat flesh to eat it only after offering it to the goddess Kali.
So the Vedas, they're like, somehow the other want to bring people to come to worship Krishna. It's not easy for one to come directly to worship Krishna. Very difficult. So that's the reason the Vedas have these different processes in some way or the other, that people can start beginning some sort of religious activity and gradually come to worshiping Krishna. For example, here, as is mentioned, there is a Puran which says you want to eat meat? Okay, first you make a sacrifice in the temple of goddess Kali. It's supposed to be on a particular day of the month. You have to chant some mantras that now as I'm killing you, you can kill me in your next life. And then you offer it to goddess Kali and then you can eat that. So that gradually they can get elevation of the living entity.
The philosophical sections of the Vedic hymns are intended to enable one to distinguish the Supreme Lord from Maya. After one understands the position of Maya, one can approach the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. This is the actual purpose of philosophical speculation, and Krishna confirms this in Bhagavad Gita 7.19. After speculating for many, many births, the philosophical speculators and empiric philosophers ultimately surrender unto me, Vasudeva, and I accept that I am everything. It can thus be seen that all Vedic rituals, different types of worship, and philosophical speculations ultimately aim at Krishna.
So, what is the position of Maya? Anyone?
Basically, she covers us so that we do more devotional service and approach to the Supreme Lord.
She covers us so we can forget we are part and parcel of Krishna.
Okay.
That's her job, no? To illusion, to keep us here in the material world because that's our desire. So she's a servant of Krishna. She follows Krishna's order. She's Krishna's external energy. And once we can understand what is Maya, who is Maya, what is her position, then one can engage in pure devotional service. So, intended to distinguish Supreme Lord from Maya. Many of us are not able to understand what is Maya and who is the Supreme Lord. We are thinking Maya is greater than the Supreme Lord. That's why some people say that, oh, now I'm actually God, but now I'm in Maya. But after I become God again, then after I get liberated, I'll become God again. That means thinking that that means Maya is greater than God, that Maya is able to cover God. But that's not so. Maya can never cover Krishna. She's Krishna's servant. She follows his orders. As we are studying the verse, Devi Hiyesha Gunamai. And so in 7:19, Krishna says that after many, many births and deaths, one who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me. Janmanam, bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyante. Vasudeva sarvapati samahatma sudurlabha. That if one is cultivating knowledge for many, many lifetimes, one knowledge, they're cultivating knowledge after many lives, many births, many deaths, one will come to the point that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and I need to surrender to the Supreme Lord. That is all the culmination of knowledge. All knowledge ends there at surrendering to Supreme Lord, understanding Krishna as the Supreme Lord.
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told Sanatana Goswāmī about Krishna's multi-forms and his unlimited opulences. He also described the nature of the spiritual manifestation, the material manifestation, and the manifestation of the living entity. In addition, he informed Sanatana Goswāmī that the planets in the spiritual sky, known as Venkatas, and the universes of the material sky are different types of manifestations, for they are created by different energies, namely the spiritual energy and the material energy respectively. As far as Krishna himself is concerned, he is directly situated in his spiritual energy, or specifically in his eternal potentials.
Okay, so Lord Chaitanya is speaking to Sanatana Goswami about that Krishna, his opulence is unlimited. We have limited opulence. We have a certain amount of wealth. Krishna is unlimited. Nobody can be richer than God. If someone says they're richer than God, can it be possible? Anyone saying, I'm richer than God?
No.
No, right?
No.
No one can be more beautiful than God. No one, no matter how beautiful one is. That's how Krishna has unlimited opulences, the 6 opulences. He has unlimited. So this is what Lord Chaitanya is explaining to Sanatana Goswami. And the nature of the spiritual world, the material world, and the living entity. So, under what energy is the spiritual world controlled?
Spiritual energy.
I'm sorry.
Spiritual energy.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. And what about the material world?
Material energy.
The inferior
right.
energy.
Yes, thank you. And so, what is the Vaikuntha lokas? What is that region called? Is it material or
Spiritual, because it's there.
spiritual? That's right. And where is Krishna?
He's in the energy, no, in Vaikuntha.
Yeah,
That's
Golok.
right. Golok.
Yeah,
Yes,
Golok,
thank you.
Vaikuntha.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
To help us understand the difference between the spiritual energy and the material energy, the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam gives a clearer analysis of the two. Sridhara Swami also gives a clear analytical study in the commentary on the first verse of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Accepting Sridhara Swami as an authorized commentator of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted his commentary as follows. The 10th canto of the Bhagavatam describes the life and activities of Krishna because he is the shelter of all manifestations. Knowing Krishna to be the shelter of everything, I worship him and offer him my obeisances.
So Prabhupada is saying that the second canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, it helps us realize because we are reading about the creation, no? It's so detailed, it's given the position of the material energy, how material energy is acting, where is the spiritual energy is acting in the spiritual world. So Prabhupada is also saying Sridhar Swami's commentary on the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sridhar Swami is authorized Acharya. His commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam is authorized. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted his commentary as Bhagavatam describes the 10th canto, life and activities of Krishna because he's the shelter of all manifestations. The Samam Bonam. Krishna is the Samam Bonam. Knowing Krishna to be the shelter of everything, I worship him and offer him my obeisances. So Krishna is the Samambona. We are always looking for shelter. We are looking for shelter in different things. We may find shelter in our, different people find shelter in different things. People may think that our knowledge will protect us. Someone may think that somebody's strength may protect them. Somebody may think my family will protect me, or my parents, or my children, or my spouse, or my wealth, or my, institution, or my country. But who is the real shelter of everyone?
Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna is the shelter of everyone. And Mahaprabhu is saying, I worship him and offer him my obeisances. Because he's truly our shelter. But we have created a lot of false shelters and ignoring the real shelter.
In this world, there are two kinds of principles operating. One principle is the origin or shelter of everything, and all other principles are derived from this original principle. The supreme truth is the asraya, the shelter of
Ashray.
all. Sorry?
Ashray.
Ashray, the shelter of all manifestations. All other principles will remain under the control of the Ashray Tattva, or the absolute truth, are called Ashrita, or subordinate corollaries and reactions. The purpose of the material manifestation is to give the conditioned soul a chance to become liberated and return to the Ashraya Tattva, or the absolute truth. Since everything in this cosmic creation, which is manifested by Krishna, Vishnu's expansion is dependent on the Tattva, the various demigods and manifestations of energy, the living entities, and all material elements are dependent on Krishna, for Krishna is the supreme truth. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam indicates that everything is sheltered by Krishna directly and indirectly. Consequently, perfect knowledge can be had only by an analytical study of Krishna as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita.
So Krishna is the Ashraya. We just said Krishna is the shelter of everything and everyone. So he is the Ashraya, the supreme truth, the supreme shelter. He's the origin. Then everything else is called Ashrita.
Subordinate.
Krishna and Krishnas. That's the only thing that exists, is Krishna and everything else that belongs to Krishna. Now, why has Krishna created this material world? Why?
Because he wants the conditioned soul a chance to become liberated and return back to him.
That's right. Thank you. Yes, so that we can go back to him. We are rebellious. We have forgotten our true home, and he's made this material world, put us here so we can all go back. So everything is dependent on Krishna. The demigods, the material world, the material elements, everything is dependent on Krishna, because Krishna is the only Ashraya. Everything else belongs to Krishna. So perfect knowledge, if we really want knowledge, perfect knowledge, we have to study Krishna, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. And then Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divyam, evam yoveti tattvataha, tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjuna. He says, one who can understand the nature of my appearance and activities in truth, that they are transcendental, does not need to take birth in this material world. So the more we try to understand that Krishna's position is transcendental, then the easier for us to go back home, back to Godhead.
Lord Chaitanya then asked Sanatana Gosvāmī to listen attentively as he described the different features of Krishna. First, the Lord informed him that Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, is the absolute supreme truth, the cause of all causes and the origin of all emanations and incarnations. Yet in Brija or Gokula Vrindavan, he is just like a young boy. His form is eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge, absolute. He is both the shelter of everything and the proprietor as well.
So then, because Sanatana Goswami is asking him about God, no? So Lord Chaitanya is saying, Lord Chaitanya is not telling him, oh, you will not be able to understand God. It's something very beyond you. You don't have that. Or it's something esoteric or whatever. No. Somebody asks about God, the real teacher should be able to explain to them about God and who he is, where he stays, what's his address, what he looks like. Why? Because he's seen God. He knows God in truth. And he should be able to show us God. That the Tattvadarshi is the one who should be able to show us God. So here Lord Chaitanya is telling us, Sanatana Goswami, who is God? Who's the original source? Nanda Nandana, Brajendra Nandan. He's very specific. He's not saying Devki Nandan or Vasudev Nandan. He's not also just saying Krishna. He's saying Nanda, son of Nanda Maharaj. Means Krishna and Vrindavan, son of Devki and Nanda. That Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. Cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karanam, origin of all emanations and incarnations. This is the Supreme Lord. And what is God doing? He's a cowherd boy. He has many, many cows. He tends to the cows. He's a young boy. And his form is Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, full of bliss, and full of knowledge. Krishna's form is Satchit Ananda. He's the shelter of everything and he's the owner of everything. Everything belongs to Krishna. Nothing. There's nothing or no one that does not belong to Krishna. Everything, everyone belongs to Krishna.
In this connection, Lord Chaitanya gave evidence from the Brahma Samhita 5.1. Can somebody read?
Ishvara
Parama
Param Krishna
Yes, Sneha, please go on.
Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam.
Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a body full of knowledge, eternality, and bliss. He has no origin. He is the original person, known as Govinda, and is the cause of all causes. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave evidence that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, full in all six opulences. His abode, known as Goluka Vrindavan, is the highest planet in the spiritual sky.
So what is the name of the planet where Krishna lives?
Goluka Vrindavan.
Yes. And who is telling us that?
Chaitanya Brahma Samhita.
Yeah. Brahma Samhita, Brahmaji is saying, Lord Chaitanya is citing it.
Hmm.
You know, all the authorities know this. So Lord Chaitanya is also speaking from authority. He's saying, see, Brahma Samhita is saying, and that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. You know, we ask, oh, who's your father? Then father's father, father's father, father's father, father's father. Then we'll come to Krishna. So who's Krishna's father? Krishna
No one.
he is no origin. But for the sake of pastimes, his father is Nanda Maharaj and his mother is Yashoda. But Krishna has no origin. He is the supreme original person, cause of all causes. Sarva Karana Karanam. And his body, what is his body made of?
Full of knowledge, eternality, and bliss.
Yes, our body is made of this mucus, blood, bile, all these things, right? Krishna's body is knowledge, eternality, and bliss. And every soul also has this body. Just now we are just covered by this material body. Actually, the soul is also Satchit Ananda. So Krishna is Satchit Ananda. We are part and parcel of Krishna, the spirit soul. We are also Satchit Ananda. So what's the difference between Krishna and us?
We are a part of him. We are not.
That's
Like,
right.
yeah.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll stop here for today.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Prem Hari Bol.
Hari.
Hare